For now, we're just going to do the patron questions. So this is from, I believe this is Wookie Potamus. The thing is, when you stream, in streamer mode, it abbreviates names, so apologies if this isn't it. But I think this is Wookie Potamus. I think he's the only... I mean, the account on the Rich Cord is Margaret Thatcher's Snaggletooth, so I don't really know who else that would be besides Wookie Potamus. But anyway, he asks, what is your current Premier League team of the season? Now, even though I haven't been doing the Premier reviews, because there just hasn't been enough time with the move, wrapping stuff up, been having a few of the projects I've had to get done, just general high concentration of works I've wanted to offer as much value as possible for Substack subscribers. I've still been watching the games, and I've been watching as many of the games as possible. Now, this is kind of I'm going to give a bit of a cop-out answer here, because I do have to say that based on what I'd predicted was going to happen in the Premier League, I am very surprised at Liverpool being 5 points clear as of today, as of 7 o'clock on the 21st of January. They really did a great job with the rebuild in midfield in a way that I hadn't even kind of anticipated for, because I thought it was maybe going to take them 2 seasons and some of the signings were a bit rushed, you know, and I was like, oh, they missed out on Caicedo, stuff like this. I mean, obviously you look at what's happening at Chelsea, and in particular what's happened to Caicedo, but I mean, it's unbelievable how well the rebuild, that should have been a 2-season minimum rebuild of the midfield. They lost some big names and some big characters, and obviously some of the names. I'm working on an article at the moment about Henderson now that he's gone to Ajax again. But I think Szoboszlai has been just a fucking unbelievable pickup in terms of what he's delivered. Endo hasn't started, but he's really good. Gravenbach has been fucking mega as well. You know, and they all have, with the exception of Endo, who's just a bit part player, you bring him on to close a game out. But, you know, they all have this massive upside. I knew Szoboszlai was a good signing. I was, mega excited with Szoboszlai. When they brought him in, I was like, wow, that's a really, really good signing. You know what it's like with all them Red Bull players. But, no, for real, I mean, they've done such a good job. And they're good value for being top of the table. You know, Man City look not ordinary. They don't look exceptional without De Bruyne. He's back. Makes it interesting. Arsenal still look like bottle merchants to me. I don't think they've ever got over not winning that season. And then you kind of look at who's going to be third in the table long term. You know, there's not really... I mean, it's sort of a weird... It's like a massive, transitional season. Because, you know, as good a job as Villa have done, and I remember I was raving about Emery. I said he was going to push them into the top 6 solidly when he came, and he's done that and more. I don't think they're good enough and have the squad depth to hang on to 4th place. And I think it would be a little bit like Newcastle. If they got into the Champions League with this squad, it would be a poison chalice, because they'd end up with a ton of injuries. They'd end up dropping results because of the midweek games, and they'd be back to mid-table. So you be careful what you wish for, because that one-off injection of Champions League money ain't worth it if you can't sustain the success if it comes a bit too soon. But anyway, I think Liverpool have been great to watch this season. The team that's fascinated me the most is West Ham. And I know that's probably going to come as a shock to a lot of you, because they play anti-football. And I've never seen a team have as little possession as West Ham and yet carve out definitive chances and score goals. And, you know, I've been critical of Moyes, and I hated how they had that run where they went to the whatever the fuck it was, the European Conference Cup, and they all cheered like they were winning the Champions League. And the European Conference Cup probably doesn't even exist in 5-6 years, like the Cup Winners' Cup. I've said all that shit on the podcast. But the bottom line is, West Ham United do so much with so little of the ball that they're up to 6th in the table. And, you know, they've got fucking players that are, really exciting that you want on the ball. They don't get the ball. very often, but when they get it, they're explosive. And, I want to point out, if you go back and listen to the Prem review, when Kudus came from Ajax, I said that is a mega signing for West Ham. And loads of people in the comments, like, you really overrate all the Ajax players. I'm like, I don't. It's everyone else in the world that overrates the Ajax players and probably doesn't even overrate them. Ajax is just one of those clubs who will consistently produce excellent footballers to sell. So it's West Ham have fascinated me because I haven't seen a team so it's not even defensively set up, it's that they just stay static. They don't press. And in the modern era of football, that's like really anachronistic. So it's fascinating what they do. So yeah, I've enjoyed Liverpool a lot this season, but I'm kind of intrigued at what West Ham are doing. Because by virtue of being 6th in the league, which is what I thought they were going to get close to, I think I had them at 8th in my last season predictions. They're kind of defying what modern football is trending as, so it really is fascinating. Next up, the RTS genre is in a tough spot overall, with reduced interest from players and even less attention from their devs, thinking of Blizzard and Warcraft 3 Remastered. What are your thoughts about the RTS genre, and will it make a comeback and gain popularity again? Well, things go in cycles. We've got that one that the ex-StarCraft team are working on that everyone's hyped about. Stormgate, of course. But everyone's really excited about that, and they're baking in like leagues and ladders and tables and esports and all that stuff. Also, there's been like some remasters and reboots and stuff like fucking Age of Empires is still doing well. And so you think about it, did the RTS genre actually, go away? No. Yeah, it did lose popularity. It lost popularity for another popular genre in the form of MOBAs that seemed to, like, tick more boxes and that kind of stuff. So I get it. But I think we will see an RTS comeback. The problem that the RTS genre had was that it all became too derivative. You were all doing the same thing. Like, I'm playing one at the moment. I mean, not at the moment, not right now while I'm talking to you. Who am I? Destiny on an episode of Unfiltered? But I've been playing that Against the Storm. And that is a banger game, guys. That's like really fucking good, really innovative. It strings together a sort of a random campaign every time you play. They update it every week. There's like new stuff going in. And it's really interesting because it's not about combat and it's not about even base building per se. It's about supply chain management, which sounds boring. Like, oh, what is this? Victoria 2? No. Against the Storm, what it does is essentially, the premise is you're a bunch of a mixed, you're like a group of different fantasy races, like beavers, harpies, that kind of thing. And you all have different skills and different needs. And each time you have to build a settlement, you only get a set number of buildings. So you don't have all of the buildings all of the time. You only get random ones each time you build a base. And then you have to cut down trees and expand into other biomes. And each biome is random and it'll reveal stuff within it. And these can be certain types of resource or enemies or, little treasures. And you have to bring them in. And then you have to send back a tribute to the capital city all the while you're expanding out to sort of find out what is causing the titular storms. It's a really fascinating game. Yeah, and it's got fantasy race beavers, like giant beavers. They like cakes or something, So it's a fucking mega game. Lots of fun. It has no competitive component to it. But that's probably why I like it, because I got to be honest, I think one of the things that really started to annoy me about RTS games and the way they were constructed was that the campaigns, they weren't like the brilliant StarCraft campaigns and Warcraft campaigns. Like, man, playing through fucking Warcraft 3 the first time and the fall and coming back as the Lich and all this shit, that was like mega stuff. A lot of modern RTSs, what they were doing basically was they give you some bullshit garbage campaign that introduces a unit or a mechanic each level, And it's just about getting you online to play ladder play. I don't really give a fuck about ladder play. I don't want to play. The best game for me doesn't involve other people, actually. So they're tutorials, and I don't fuck with that. So it's nice to play a game that's heavily narrative driven and really makes you think. It's a great game, so check that out. But yeah, I think in terms of competitive terms and just in game development terms, the RTS is going to be the next dead genre that's going to get a big infusion. There's a ton of RTS things. I think they're doing a reboot of Age of Mythology as well, aren't they? Didn't they port that across to the Unreal Engine? I think I read that somewhere. And by the way, Age of fucking Mythology is fucking mega. So if you never had the joy of playing that the first time around, just fucking go get it, because it's fucking sick. So one of the best RTS games, one of the most fun I ever had playing RTS games. So check that out. I also bought one in the Steam sale, actually, that I never got around to playing. Fuck's it called? Something Train? No, Last Train Home, which is unfortunately named after a song by Lost Prophets. So if you know, you know. It's one of those memes, isn't it? It can also yeah, one of them. But yeah, The Last Train Home I got. It looks actually legit. Yeah, it says the Great War is over, but the fight continues. Command a legion of soldiers, desperately trying to make their way home amidst the chaos of civil war. Lead them through the unforgiving wilderness, onboard an armoured train. Manage your crew and resources and try to survive. Very positive rating. It's made by THQ Nordic, who always make not great games, but just very good games. So I'm going to give that a playthrough at some point. I reckon that'll be big. Next question from £2. We have most tragic fall in esports. Shara into the Labyrinth of the Minotaur or D-Man from Relevancy. Now, I think this question got asked before. I seem to remember answering a question about D-Man and sort of saying, in all seriousness, it kind of was a bit tragic that, what happened, but it was based on hubris. The Shara one, I don't miss Shara as a player. He was shit. The best thing he ever contributed to the CS scene was falling through a stage. But I'll say, look, the D-Man from Relevancy thing, I'll use this question to kind of talk about something that probably your favourite casters and broadcast talent don't talk about, because I don't care. I've got 10 years of broadcast under my belt. It's always been a secondary thing I do, and yet, I got to go on TV and do it, and I do believe the first esports host who started in esports that went to go and do it on TV. Obviously it was an esports broadcast. People like Golden Boy went and did, that game show thing that he did with The Rock. So, it was kind of, it's nice to sort of have played a part of that in history. But I'll tell you, one of the biggest problems just that talent face is they are terrified of irrelevancy. They're terrified of being told you're irrelevant and it actually being true. They fucking hate it. They're so scared of it. And, I sort of get it, because you are in a world where you have to be current. And if you go away for a little bit and people forget about you, or someone comes along and replaces you and they're better, or maybe they're as good but they charge less, that can sort of be it. That can just be your career over. And I know lots of people in esports really, really, really worry about that stuff, and they work themselves into the fucking grave doing that. They get so panicky about relevancy. They think if they miss one tournament, that's that. And, this is why my advice to all talent has always been the same, and that is that build your own shit. Always build your own shit. I did it way before I was even doing broadcasts. I had a Twitch stream. I had a Twitter account. I was active on social media. I was active on other people's podcasts. I was putting myself out there to kind of, make sure people didn't forget about me and didn't, I had my own community and my own resource in case things went bad, things went sour, or I didn't get hired, or I wasn't current, or I wasn't good at a particular thing. And a lot of talent, they don't do that. They do that retroactively. You see in now, think about how many podcasts I've been on and how many episodes of podcasts I've recorded since 2011. Think about how many thousands, tens of thousands of recorded hours of me there are on the internet. And then think about people coming along today and they go, oh, I've got a podcast now. And it's like, bro, but you were active 10 years ago and I was telling you to get a podcast 10 years ago. And it's like, yeah, but it was too hard back then because they had the other jobs. It's like, yeah, but that's why you push yourself back then and it pays off. And people like D-Man are illustrative of, there's a particular subset of broadcast talent that are so not self-aware. They don't understand the business really. They only understand that like, I'm popular now and it's gonna last forever, because why wouldn't it? I'm so fucking good, so why wouldn't it last forever? And those guys, they're the ones that when they start slipping, the desperation kind of facilitates the downfall. It was definitely this. That's how it went down with D-Man. Suddenly after League, he thought he could just insert himself into CS without paying his dues. He thought he could just fucking break up established partnerships and put himself in because he was an ESL executive. People rebelled against that. He said he was sick of the CS community. That went to Reddit. Then he complained about Reddit noticing what I said, taking me out of bloody context. And it's like, it's an exact quote. And he just kept going and going and going because he just didn't envision a world where people wouldn't give a fuck about what he has to say, or didn't give a fuck if he was actually on a broadcast or not. And that's the line you're walking. It's like, the way I've always approached it is, I think enough people, so I've been trying to, like, this is a total off tangent, but I've been trying to like reconnect to like Buddhism and stuff a little bit lately, which I know sounds ridiculous. A lot of people won't know. I used to be really mega into that shit, and I've just been, I've been so, kind of addled with like PTSD and grief and depression the last few years that I haven't really been taking, care of myself as well as I should, and taking care of my mental as well as I should. And I probably somewhere along the line got a little bit too caught up with like trying to win the hearts and minds. Like I fell back into the trap of like, you want to win the love of strangers. And it's meaningless. It doesn't mean anything. You can't win them over. They've made up their mind. And, you're going crazy fucking trying to persuade people, no, I am a good guy. I am a good guy. Like, really, I'm a good guy. Like, I did this, I did that. Doesn't that matter? Why won't you like me? Like, but they've made up their mind, and you've got to accept that. And while you're doing that and chasing this pipe dream of like being popular, you're letting down the people that fundamentally support your work and do want to hear what you have to say. And every time, you're whinging about some shit that you can't really change, you're not in control of it. And so, for me, that's been the thing. Like, the last few months, I've been really trying to get back to a place where I'm just zen with the idea of like, if you don't, here's what I think. If you like it, come along. If you don't like it, it's fine. It's fine. You can say what you want to say about me. If it's a lie, I'm going to correct it. That's what I've been doing more of the past like 6, since Christmas. I made a promise to myself that I was going to leave as much of the pain and hurt back in 2023 and be better to myself and be more driven and focused and healthier and all that other stuff in 2024. So that's kind of where I'm at. Now, how that sort of relates to this thing is like, the diva talent, the people like D-Man and that, they don't ever envision a world where they could become unpopular. And so they really do. It really stings. Because they go from being absolutely universally loved to being just, it's not even hatred. Because I'll tell you, you can string a career out of hatred, no problem. I mean, think of all the shock jocks and like, media scum, tabloid scum, gammons like Jeremy Clarkson. You can absolutely have a career by being hated. When people are indifferent to your shit, that's when it's Jova. It's fucking gone. Nobody cares. And that's what happened to him. And it was like, while it was happening, he was going like, doing these things that were just going to make him decidedly more unpopular. And then before you know it, you're streaming Football Manager to 25 people and doing tweets at some PUBG mobile event that no one's watching going, let's get this bread. And, you've gone from the fucking top to the bottom. Now, by the way, there's nothing wrong with streaming Football Manager to 25 people. It would never bother me. It would never bother me. I've seen people, and again, I won't name names because I know it sounds silly, but there's a particular name I could name. What they do is there's someone that we've had beef with, and what they always do is they always call out the relative size of their following to yours, and they talk about you like losing subscribers or whatever it is. And it's just like, it would never bother me at all, because that is ephemeral, and you will always have a core audience, whether it's 50 people or 50,000 is irrelevant. If you sit there and cry about how small your audience is, then you may as well spit in the face of the people who turned up. And I remember a time before esports, I used to do live shows. I used to do gigs. I used to do spoken word gigs. I used to do stand-up gigs. And trust me, 50 people in a room listening to what you got to say when you're on a stage, that's electric. That's like nothing else. And if you want to get yourself into a healthy mindset and you're doing a Twitch stream and you see 100 people for one of the gigs in a pub in Birmingham, that's like sellout. That's like you come back every week, That's insane. You would, and I remember doing those shows, and I remember talking to people after those shows and telling people where they could find my shit and linking them to blogs and linking them to social media and all of that other stuff, handing out CDs, whatever it is. And I used to be over the moon. I used to be over the moon at 50 people. So why would it change just because I'm doing it online? And I think that's the difference. I think people that get handed popularity by virtue of being in the right place at the right time and talent. I'm not denigrating D-Man's ability as a caster, because he was a great caster. But at the end of the day, if those people were to sort of ever step outside the digital world and do something on stage, be a singer, which again I've done. I think about some of the shit punk bands I played in. 50 people sticking around to watch us would have fucking rocked my world. Me and the boys would have been absolutely high as a kite, partying, loving it, thinking we were gonna make it. You know what I mean? So why the fuck, like 1,000 people watching me? Wow, holy shit, that feels like I made it, So anyway, a rambling answer. I know it probably doesn't really answer the question, but hopefully you got something out of that. This is from Otavian, I think. Do you think Jackie, the former shed man, will succeed in his quest to voice an agent in CS2? I have noticed this. Now, obviously, me and Jackie are mates, and I've known Jackie a long, long time, going back to the dark old days of UK esports. And I love what he's doing. I love his setup. I love what him and Towler are doing in terms of content, the regularity in which they're streaming. Him and Vince as a partnership, doing great work together. I think that partnership was kind of like there as an obvious thing to do, and maybe they should have hooked up a little bit sooner. But now it's here. I think they've been doing great work. I've been watching some of the RMRs on my phone while I've been stacking furniture and stuff like that. I think Jackie is he's always been good with his voice. He's always been good with words. He could definitely do voice acting. And I think the dedication of creating a green screen edited clip every day put on Twitter, really showcasing his personality and everything that's good about him. Even if he doesn't get to voice an agent, more people should be hiring him. You really do show, he's really shown an incredible versatility there. And so, yeah, I think 2024 could be a good year from him. I got a good vibe. Whether he'll be allowed to voice an agent or not, I don't know. But you got to admire the dedication and you got to admire the quality of the content. So, Mouse asks, some great Christmas movie recommendations not featured on 4Play. So, obviously for 4Play, we did Scrooged, right? We did It's a Wonderful Life. We did fucking Batman Returns. Yowzers, that film fucking sucked. And we did Tokyo Godfathers, which is a wonderful, heartwarming movie. Listen, I'm a pussy. Loba's right. I'm a pussy. And I love a good cry in a movie. I don't really give a fuck. For me, it's a big catharsis. You know, I was brought up in a very kind of like macho family, and was that guy that used to repress his feelings. You know, you long-standing viewers will have seen me cry. I do cry. There's nothing wrong with it. It's like, you know, it shows you've got empathy and sort of you're in tune with your emotions a bit. Stifling that definitely isn't healthy. But what I do is I do use sort of Christmas movies, you know, and feel-good movies. It's like almost like a catharsis to, if I want to have a cry, I'll put on a movie that I know is going to make me cry. And it's good. It can just be good to have a little... It's like having a purge, you know? It's like, you know, like an enema for the soul. You just get it out. You know, you're a bit stuffy for 30 minutes, and then that's it. And so, you know, obviously It's a Wonderful Life destroys me every year. But I watched one that's definitely going to get into my... Christmas cycle. I finally got round to watching The Holdovers, and man, what a fucking film. What a film. I was like blown away. I loved Sideways, low key, sleeper modern classic. Paul Giamatti is so good and so brave in the roles he takes, because they're very unflattering roles. And obviously, for a leading man, Paul Giamatti is not leading man material, is he? You know, he's like us. He's a schlub. He's balding. But The Holdovers was fucking great. Really sweet movie. I was just Googling the name of the actress. Can we say actress? Is actress not woke any? I don't know. Divine... Joy Randolph, or Devine, I guess it's Divine. Divine Joy Randolph fucking blows this movie out of the water. She is so good. She's like the dinner lady / caterer at this private school who lost her son, lost her husband. She's spending Christmas alone. You know, man, just brilliant. And the movie's sweet in a believable way. Everyone's a fuck up, but they get a chance to show that they're not so fucked up. They can't be good people, and nothing bad or mean-spirited happens, and it's just a nice movie. It's just really good. And I did have it wasn't a full ugly cry, but there was a little manly tear as I won't ruin the end, as Paul Giamatti took it for the team. So yeah, great film. Totally recommend it. If you haven't seen it, it's an absolute banger. One that'll probably surprise you, Elf. I fucking love Elf. It might be Will Ferrell's last good movie. Elf, low-key, is a great film. It's a great film. And I don't care what anyone says. It might surprise you that a pretentious wanker like me likes that movie, but it is a fucking banger. I love it. And for a variety of reasons. I mean, listen, I always had a soft spot for James Caan. I love James Caan. James Caan is fucking great in it. And it's Will Ferrell. It's probably his last funny role. Like, I'm trying to think of anything good after that, like really good. That's actually, tell a lie, Talladega Nights. Probably comes after Elf, doesn't it? And that was a banger as well. But anyway, it's just a really good family movie. I just think that this is one of these movies where you can just sit down and watch it. No matter, like, you can watch it with a bunch of guys beard up, and it's kind of like ironic. But you can also watch it with your kids, and it's cool, and they'll find it funny. And everyone plays these like really broad archetypes, but it's just a very solidly constructed story. And yeah, I'm a sucker for Elf. Nightmare Before Christmas is fucking also, you know, I'm not saying anything no one has said before. It's a classic. I love it. It's, you know, I don't really fuck with modern Tim Burton, as we talked about in the Batman Returns episode of the podcast. But Nightmare Before Christmas, we used to watch it when I was at university. all of my mates, you know, in the house. It was a regular, man. We get high and we put Nightmare Before Christmas on, man. It's really good. It blends, like, Halloween's obviously my favourite holiday, so you blend that in with, like, a bit of Christmas sentiment. It's got some really good gags in it, really good musical numbers. I usually hate musicals, but I really like this film. Oh, sorry, yeah, he didn't direct it. That's probably why it's good. There you go. Yeah, I keep forgetting that. It's billed Tim Burton's The Night Before Christmas, but it's not actually him who directed it. That's true. So that's another good one. I'm trying to think of any others that I might have missed. I don't want to say Bad Santa, and I don't want to say obvious things like Die Hard or Gremlins, which are obviously great movies. Edward Scissorhands is another Tim Burton movie, which is kind of like a Christmas movie. Really like that movie. It's a feel-good movie. Vincent Price's last movie, while he was still alive. Released, I believe, posthumously, if I remember correctly. So yeah, they're all good. Trading Places is a Christmas movie. That is true. And no, never School of Rock's. Jack Black's a travesty. So no, never recommend that. But yeah, Trading Places is technically a Christmas movie as well. But anyway, we won't just list off all the Christmas movies. There's enough for my man Mouse. Next up, we got Tyler. A few months after Starfield's open world psyop, what's your favourite open world game? Are you able to specify what makes it better than other games? This is a tough question, because there's been so many good open world games. And the one I'm going to say is going to surprise you. I don't want to sound like BuzzFeed, but, you know. The 10th answer will surprise you. Let's just start. I want to talk a little bit about Starfield. I've still resisted the urge to buy it. And man alive, I'm so glad I did. Because ultimately, it looks like a relic of a bygone era, you know? If they'd made this game like 10 years ago, it would have been heralded as like a modern classic. And, oh, look at all... But it's not 10 years ago. And Bethesda's game design philosophy sucks. It really does. They haven't updated their quest design. They haven't really updated the way they think about space. Conceptually, I don't mean outer space, I mean space and how you use it in a video game. Their overlay looked rushed. The writing is shit. You know, like, they've been banged on for years about why is it in every game I have to be the fucking chosen one, and immediately, as soon as the game starts, I'm put onto this railroad quest where I'm the most important person in the universe. You know, like, in a Bethesda, one of the cool thing about, like, a lot of other games, like modern games, modern RPGs, you kind of can sort of choose what position, what role you play in it. You know, some more than others for sure. But in a lot of open-ended games, people have realized, like, not everybody wants to be this Super Saiyan chosen one. Some people are content just being a fucking virtual janitor, you know, in a game. Escapism isn't just a power fantasy. Bethesda don't realize that. And it's embarrassing, frankly, that they don't realize that. I would have thought that after, like, Fallout 4... people would have realized that the idea of being the fucking most important person in the game's universe is really unappealing. And it's not even like the Fallout series doesn't already understand this. This is why I always say Bethesda Fallout isn't Fallout. Bethesda Fallout is a theme park dedicated to Fallout. It's not Jaws, it's the ride at Disney World. That's how you have to think about when Bethesda make Fallout games. Because, you know, Fallout 1 and 2 were great open world games, excellently written. In the first game, you were kind of the most important person because you're on this quest, but that only becomes apparent by the sequel. In reality, you're a pleb, and even if you succeed and get the best ending possible, which in the original game before it got patched so the water filter didn't deactivate as quick, was really hard to do, you still get expelled to either die in the wasteland or whatever at the end. Fallout 2, you're not even the same person. You're a descendant of the person in this dusty village that again has to go out and get the geck. And you're just out there and you're just a dude. And everywhere you go, you are not very important. And then obviously with New Vegas, you're a courier. You are a courier. And even by the end, depending on which way it goes, you might not even have emerged as like the person that is in charge of the wasteland or saves the wasteland. You know, it totally depends, obviously. Like, you might end up, if you do a Legion playthrough, you might end up being a servant of Caesar/Kaiser. You might make you a legate or a legate. Again, everyone pronounces these things differently. But of course, you know, remember, New Vegas wasn't made by Bethesda. It was a hastily rushed sequel based on the success of Fallout 3 that actually was better than Fallout 3 in every way, even though it was an unplayable buggy mess on day one of launch. So yeah, look, the first thing I want to say is Starfield is an embarrassment. It's a real embarrassment. I thought it was funny. The Steam Awards had a little protest where everybody voted Starfield as, what was it, most innovative game design. That's kind of hilarious. It sucks for the people that did do innovative game design that didn't win. And I think using awards as protests actually does suck generally, because some people would really like to win an award and it can help sales of indie games. So it's kind of a no-no for me. But I also do get the point that people were making, that Starfield was being charged like $60 fucking dollars or whatever it is. It's a AAA game price. The game fucking sucks. And, I have no interest in playing it. And equally, I'm sick and tired of these, open worlds that aren't open worlds. They're just endlessly looping content, which is what Todd Howard thinks passes for, these like never-ending radiant quests. That's not interesting to me, because they're all the same. It's go to this place, you've probably already been, kill a bunch of shit monsters with a boss at the end, get loot. And it's like, if I want that, I can play Diablo. So anyway, want to just say that. But what's my favorite open world game? This is blow your mind, all right? Because I'm not going to say New Vegas. And I'm not going to say Red Dead Redemption 2. Although I have to say, Red Dead Redemption 2's attention to detail, it is one of the best open worlds ever created. Because even after you've done every quest in Red Dead Redemption 2, you can ride around on your horse and things will still happen. The world will still feel alive. And listen, I love Shadow of Doubt. I've been having a lot of fun playing that. We're gonna play some of that on stream, now that I'm a washed up journalist, game streamer dude. But for me, the best open world game ever created is Jagged Alliance 2. I know this is what the fuck are you talking about? Jagged Alliance 2 has one of the best fucking premises of any open world game ever, in the sense that you recruit a team of mercenaries. You are dropped by helicopter onto an island you must liberate from a dictator, and that is it. That's your mission statement. That is all you are told. You have some rough ideas about geographical places of interests, like cities or military bases, but how you overthrow the dictator is totally up to you. And you will go to, for example, like the first playthrough I ever did of that, I skipped out so much content because they baked so much content into this game. Get this, it took me ages retroactively to realize there was a helicopter pilot in the game, which is like an essential piece of the game. You find this downed helicopter pilot in the jungle and you get access to the helicopter. You can then use it to like move around quickly and surprise people and stuff. And I did a playthrough where I didn't even find the dude. You can find a robot, a remote controlled robot, machine gunning robot, if you help some scientist. All of these things are optional and none of them are telegraphed. It's not even like environmental storytelling where it's really obvious. Like, when you play a Fallout game and you go to a console and it says, there's been talk of a tribe of super mutants in the hills to the north, and you go to the hills to the north and you meet a tribe of super mutants. It's not like that. It's like in Jagged Alliance, it's just like your mercenaries are being paid by the day. You need a source of income. So, right, I'm going to liberate the gold mines, I guess. But other than that, if you don't stumble across something, you just won't stumble across it. And the replayability is amazing. It's just a fucking incredible game. Now, if you're going to buy it, and yeah, by the way, the Wagner Group simulator, it's edgy, but it's sort of true. It is kind of what you're doing. Don't buy the Steam version. Get it off GOG.com. Get it off Good Old Games. The Steam version doesn't have this insane quality of life patch. I think it's 1.13. It makes a huge difference to the game. Get 1.13, get the DLC, get it from Good Old Games, and it's amazing. It's got character. Each mercenary is their own fully fleshed out character with a backstory. Like, get this. This is from the first Jagged Alliance, so no spoilers. There is a doctor, a disgraced doctor that you can hire to be your military medic. And he's super cheap, and he has super high medical skill. And you go, what the fuck? He's like $200 a day. This is insane. This is like so cheap for a 95 level medic. Because, the higher the medical skill, the more health you get when they bandage you and stuff. Anyway, the reason for that is he's a fucking psychopath. And when you're camping randomly at night, there's just a random chance he'll murder one of your party in their sleep and disappear. It's just random. It just happens. And you just find that out, like, the fucking hard way, The Jagged Alliance games are great. I bought Jagged Alliance 3 in the most recent Steam sale. Haven't played it yet, but I will. But man, some of the characters in that game, like, everyone's getting Grizzly, everyone's getting Bull, the two big boys having a big manly bromance. There's emergent, because also the different characters all have different interactions, different voice lines. For its time, they recorded, thousands of voice lines to sort of make, so they had these little, like, emergent interactions when you do certain things. It's an incredible game. It's replayable. It's as open world as an open world game can be, in the sense you are dropped into a world. What you find, what you do is totally up to you. The game is not on rails in any way. You can go straight to the palace and try and liberate if you want. You can do a speed run. It's one of the best games ever made. Right, Adam Oki. What's the most ridiculous holiday story that you have? All right, let's tell I'll tell an adult holiday story as opposed to going to, like, Pontins or Butlins as a kid. But here's like a holiday story. When I was living in Newcastle, I went on holiday with a bunch of Geordies that I knew from work. It was like summer holiday. We went to, like, a resort in Spain, like you do with the lads. Lads. It was one of them. I'm not too proud to admit, I can fuck with the boring stuff. So we went out and we had a big, like, session. And while we were out there, one of the Geordie lads, I suppose I can just say his first name, it's pretty generic. One of the Geordie lads, Graham, he was known for being a bit of a, what the kids would call now, like, a Riz master, right? He's like a Rizzler. He definitely had good charisma, good patter, very funny guy, and generally did well with the ladies. And while we were out there at the resort, there were a bunch of girls on a girls' holiday from Sunderland. And obviously, if you don't know, the fucking Newcastle and Sunderland rivalry is pretty well known. So here are a bunch of people from Newcastle. They're all, you fucking Geordie bastards, all of this, And then, like, they're giving it back. You slags. You Sunderland slags. And it's just like that, around the pool, down at the hotel or whatever. And then anyway. So Graham was really sort of like, fucking, you fucking... It must be a bit mental, this, for you, like, coming to a resort. Must be a change to eating rats in your council house and all this. Like, he was just absolutely fucking roasting these chicks from Sunderland, like, so fucking hard. Like, it was just unbelievable. Anyway, we went out for a night out. And, you know, we just had the rules that obviously if you got lucky, you went back to the apartment and just did your thing. So we all knew people were going to be, like, doing their own thing. If for whatever reason you were out all night and you couldn't get into the apartment, it's fucking Spain. You just go sleep on the beach until the fucking sun comes up. You know, it's warm enough. You're not going to get swept out to say you're nothing. Anyway, I'd been out drinking and, you know, with the lads. And we were like, well, where the fuck's Graham at, you know? We didn't see him. And anyway, we had a great night. We all get back to the apartment. And when we walk in, we can just hear very loud, aggressive sex noises. And he's in one of the rooms with one of the girls from Sunderland. But they are having the most insanely loud hate fuck I have ever heard. Like, it's crazy. Like, he was screaming at the top of his voice, "You smelly fucking Mackham! Gonna give you deep strokes, you Mackham!" Like, he was just fucking screaming like this, and she was going, "You can't fuck me hard enough, you Geordie bastard!" It was unreal. Like, we were in fucking stitches. Like, we're just crying with laughter in the fucking apartment. Like, it was just fucking unreal. So there you go, fucking rip to a real one. I don't know where Graham is now. He might still be out there having sex with Mackhams, who knows, but fucking hell, I was fucking out. Yeah, smelly I'll never forget that as long as I live. Like, calling someone you're having sex with a smelly Mackham. That's on some. That's next level. That's next level. Like, fair play to him. Zumba, what was the favourite piece of content you created in esports? And could you also choose a favourite piece done by someone else, either an article, video, or documentary? The second half of that question will be tough. You know, probably the best article, in my opinion, I think the best piece of reporting I ever did, the best article I ever wrote, is probably the one over at esports, which is called "The Hacker That Went to War with Riot Games" or something like that. You have to understand how much, I mean, it's about a 4,000, 5,000 word article as well. You have to understand how much went into that. Because what I had to do for that was, first of all, the hack happened years ago and he put a backdoor in so the hacker could get in and out. So it only became apparent years after the event happened. I remember watching the event as it happened when it was like, you know, he got access to St. Vicious's like League of Legends account. Tanked the MMR on it and stuff. So I remember watching those things as it happened and nobody could explain why they were happening, and Riot said it was just like a mistake, you know, and they hid the fact that there'd been a data breach, which is another reason why I really wouldn't trust them because of Vanguard, because they're liars. But anyway, I had to interview an Australian who was neurodivergent that had been through the court system, sort of several other people that were aware of the situation, some other hackers from hacker forums, which, by the way, as a journalist, when you're interviewing hackers and they're like, "Yeah, just add me on this," and you're like, oh God. Yeah, just call me. Oh, Christ. And you don't know if they're going to just fucking jack all your shit, you know, which is why I use burners. You know, I got so many fucking, you know, just throw away SIM cards. You know, you're super panicking about it and all that stuff. And, you know, so much work went into it. But I also just think I told a really good, compelling story. I think easily you could have made that into like a 90-minute documentary with what I wrote, and it would have been compelling. I was really proud of it. If I remember rightly, at the time, I wasn't banned from the League of Legends subreddit, but the League of Legends mods sort of suppressed that anyway, for reasons I'm sure you can guess at. So, yeah, sad that one didn't get more attention and mainstream, because that, in my opinion, that article is good enough to be in any magazine in the world. the standard of writing, the amount of research, the structure. And, I had a really good editor. The one thing I miss about being solo now is not having someone like Kevin Morris from esports, who's a fantastic editor, to bounce things off and bounce articles off. But yeah, it was, it was easily the best thing I wrote. Now, it might not be if you want to say favorite piece of content, I mean, like, E-League, like the entirety of E-League, the Boston Major in particular, but I'll go with that for the article because otherwise it's too broad. And then a favourite piece done by someone else. Man, there's so much content that I consume. I'm just trying to think of what a fucking real standout piece of esports stuff that kind of like blew me away. Yeah, it could be one of yours. Could be a Smoothie tweet. Could be. It's a tough one. It really is, because I'm trying to think of the entirety of esports content creation all at once. And there's going to be something really obvious, like there's been a documentary or something, but I can't quite pull one out of the ether right now. I'll have to come back on that one, I think, because, off the top of my head, like, even though I read a lot of articles, you have to understand, there's not really, like, a lot of long-form articles out there that sort of have any, like... They're all shitty little think pieces designed to get into the algorithm to get clicks, Not many people write, like, truly brave, impactful opinion pieces anymore. I'm talking about stuff like, when Thorin's article on Simple, or the open letter he wrote to Config, things like that. They're pretty important. I'll come back to that one. I'll get that one in the next one. I'll remember it. Make a note or just spam it on me. I'll try and have a think. Tasty asks, by the way, he's got me doing a picture of the croon face. What is your favourite hangover recovery meal? I mean, listen, it's boring, but how is a full English breakfast ever going to be beaten for a hangover? Like, no shit. How is it ever going to be beaten by anything in science? Like, think about it. It's got everything you need. It's got carbs. It's got fats. It's filling. It's got beans, which are carbs, but they're also beans. Probably got electrolytes. It's full of salt, I mean, and obviously you get them, you got your hash browns in there, a bit of stodge, settles the stomach, cup of fucking tea or coffee. How's it ever going to be beaten? I mean, put it this way, when I was in America, I used to go out and get breakfasts all the time for hangovers. That was like a given, Eggs are great. Like, protein legitimately helps, isn't it? Like, I'm not a scientist, obviously, you look at me, but doesn't it help break down alcohol or help your organs process it or something? I'm pretty sure. But anyway, you can't go wrong with that stuff. And pickle juice. I drink pickle juice all the time. I love pickle juice. I've always got a jar of pickles in the house and pickle juice. Swear by that. A nice glass of pickle juice with a full English breakfast. It's just never going to be beat. You got to have a cup of coffee in there for me, but it's never going to be beat. Rekovic asks, as a renowned member of the LGBTQIAA++ community, see, you're trying to get me in trouble, what is your opinion on the staffer who shot a pretty good POV gay sex vid in the US Senate? I mean, look, man, my views on that, right, I'm going to answer it seriously. You pay the money. My views on that are, listen, it doesn't bother me in the sense that who wants to have a fuck? Do it, like, fuck anywhere. Who cares? Like, it's your shit, man. Like, just do it. We're all too hung up on sex, But it just seems to me that it particularly sticks in my craw because of two things. The first is, after the Trump administration goes out, we're being told the adults are back in charge. The adults very much aren't back in charge, are they? You've got staffers screwing each other in government buildings. You've got that fucking bald fucking dude stealing women's underwear out of fucking airport luggage, and nothing's happening there. They've just been a fucking embarrassment, like, and it's very hard. I don't think people realise again, there's like two Americas. There's the terminally online America, the America with a Twitter account, and then there's the real America, the people who don't have Twitter accounts, the people who just want to get up, go to work, get their groceries, go home. They just want a good life for their kids. They want to be able to retire at a sensible age, not go bankrupt over healthcare. They're just normal fucking people. They just and they don't care about any of the noise. It's why they can say, listen, yeah, okay, I'll vote for Trump. Like, I just want to be able to afford groceries and gas again. Or they'll go, listen, I'll vote for Biden. I don't care if he's got dementia. I want the country to move in a better direction, and I don't think Trump is it. And there's none of the noise. And I'm sick and tired of the sanctimonious... It's like I said, I'll say it again, and I'll keep saying it, because I'm eventually going to structure something sensible out of this thought. I have a thought, and I know it to be true. It's reality, and I need to sort of sculpt it into something a bit more coherent so people can understand where I'm coming from. But over the last, however many years it's been, we've had to observe, all of these institutions have become very left-leaning, which ordinarily, that shouldn't bother me. I am a left-leaning guy. And it doesn't matter how many people call me a conservative. It doesn't matter if you pull me up tape saying I guess I'm a conservative. It doesn't matter, that he spent 6 months at Breitbart or whatever. My politics are my politics, and people know where I'm at with them. And there's nothing that is sort of even conceivably right-wing other than the fact I'm sick and tired of the smug, sanctimonious lecturing from and it's only American progressives who literally think everyone else is too stupid in comparison to them to be able to have any choice or say in how the world works. And we've put up with this now for 10 years. You've had 10 years of institutional power, 10 years of dominating the airwaves, 10 years of taking over social media, 10 years of being able to get people fired for doing this out of a car window at a traffic stop. You've had it all. And what did you do with it? You didn't do anything. We're no further forward. We haven't had wholesale policy change. We haven't even won more people over to progressive ideas. You know why? Because you're so repulsive. No one wants to be in a room with you. No one wants to talk to you. Everyone's terrified to fucking tell a joke or relax. Everyone's too scared at work. They're just sick of you now. And unfortunately, what's happened is we've got a bunch of, genuinely bad faith right-wing actors who are going, yeah, the left are evil, fuck it, degeneracy. They say all the words. And people who wouldn't have responded to that now are looking over at you with your blue hair and your fucking wagging finger, and they're looking over at those guys who were going, yeah, come on, man. Do you want to be able to tell a joke again? And what's going to happen is they're going to get over there and they're going to go, welcome, yeah, isn't free speech cool? And you go, yeah, I can say what I want now. Yeah, it's really good. And isn't it good not to be, lectured just because you have a different view on a particular issue? Yeah, it is, actually, it is. And what about them bloody immigrants, yeah? And you go, whoa, homie, I didn't come along for this. But the point is, at that juncture, it's going to be too late. And what we're starting to see globally is we are seeing the pendulum swing back to people are moderates, centrists, whatever you want to call them. They're starting to look over to the right and going, actually, I'm going to vote for them because I am fucking sick of being called a Nazi by you. And then what's happened is the left are going, no. If you vote for that wacky Argentinian guy, or if you go and vote for Trump again, you're really letting in fascism. That party really stands for fascism. That party in Holland, it really don't. And you've been calling me a Nazi for 10 years anyway. I don't care. I'm out. You could have had me. You could have won me over. But you were too busy spiking a football and calling me a cunt for 10 years because I like an episode of South Park you don't. That I'm done now. And now I guess I am voting for the bad guys. So that's where we're at, unfortunately. And, that's been frustrating to watch as someone who is nominally progressive. The other part of it is I'm just sick and tired of all the hand-wringing about that's a sacred building. They went into a sacred building and moved a lectern. Insurrection. You've been doing that now for 2 fucking years, or whatever it's been. Right, 3 years, right? You said it was worse than 9/11 and Pearl Harbor combined, like it was fucking Team America, right? That building is sacred. To see it defiled. And then you just got some fucking, some two dudes just fucking barebacking each other over the desk. That if they'd done it in MAGA fucking hats, the news anchors would be crying again. Van Jones would be crying again, saying it was a dark day for America. You know, it's like they've replaced religion with political party affiliation, and actually the zealotry is on both sides is just way worse in America right now. So, you know, look, is it a sacred building or isn't it? Can people fucking it? I will also say, see them people chanting very anti-Semitic things while shaking a White House vent? Didn't see a lot of that covered in the news. Felt a bit insurrection-y to me. So, yeah, fuck it. I'm like so over it. So, yeah, wicked. You've made your administration a total fucking laughingstock. Congrats. Well done, Biden. Just another big win. Anyway, this is again from Wookieepotamus. He said, during Season 3, Episode 12 of Star Trek The Next Generation, titled The High Ground, Data mentions the Irish unification of 2024. What do you think is the best way for a one-state solution to be reached in Ireland within the next year? Listen, I have no answers on that. And that's not like being a coward trying to dodge it, because I don't really give a fuck, as I've said. Oh, Watch Doge. Sorry, my bad. Sorry, not Wookiee. Yeah, it makes sense, actually. Why would Wookiee be asking a question about Ireland? At the end of the day, it's just never going to happen, is it? You know, it's like where we're at now with a two-state sort of solution in other places. People aren't playing anymore. So I don't really know. I'm glad the troubles are over. We're not bombing each other anymore. So yeah, there isn't going to be an Irish unification in 2024. It'd be news to me. So Data got that one wrong. But you have to admire the wonderful optimism of Star Trek. But also, I have noticed as well, I could answer that question in a totally different way, because apparently Twitch allows you to promote terrorism now if you're a popular political streamer. So, you know, if you're out there, we'll all get some of the good old boys on, and we'll all sing a rousing chorus of "Come out, you black and tans." We'll all have a good time. So why not? Anyway, let's just move on. Let's just leave that. This is from Mega Awesome Man. With the release of the H-Bomber Guy plagiarism video, what were your thoughts on it, and what has your experience been, either being a victim of plagiarism or a witness to plagiarism in your previous works and collaboration? So I saw the H-Bomber Guy plagiarism video. You know, listen, I think I mentioned it before. The thing I can't stand about, like, good content creators that fall in, like, okay, there's really good, like, he's a talented content creator, you know, respect where respect is due, but we get so far into the video, and then out of nowhere, he brings up Melania Trump plagiarizing some sentences from a Michelle Obama speech. And he's done that to go, all the Trumps are bad. Oh, like, please, mate. I can look at you and know which way you vote. You fucking soy-addled mess, right? But listen, he's right. He was right when he wrecked Paul Joseph Watson or whatever the fuck he's called with the soy thing and the soy being an alpha brain. That's brilliant. That was straight ownage. It's not like I mind him like taking to task right-wing people. The point he made when Ben Shapiro's like, well, if global warming happens and the sea levels rise, just sell your house. And it's like, Ben, who's going to buy it? Fucking Aquaman. These are good points, and it really shows kind of like how the facts and logic crowd very often don't traffic in facts and or logic, right? So I get that. But equally, this is a video about plagiarism. And to just use this little moment to really get in a very unimportant act of plagiarism, and then not mention that, you know, fucking Joe Biden, how many speeches has he fucking plagiarized down the years? Go look it up. It's a ton. I think he's even quoted like fucking Churchill before and tried to pass it off as his own. So it's like, you know, if you're using plagiarism to impugn someone's character, then guess what? Your guy is bad. But they never do that, you know? They never fucking do that. So anyway, I watched the plagiarism video. I thought it was very well done. I was very surprised, actually, at how brazen some of these examples have got. And I was very disappointed in Internet Historian with that cave video he did. I watched that cave video and it fucks me up, man, because I ain't necessarily claustrophobic, but I've watched The Descent, so fuck that. That's like one of my nightmares, getting like stuck in a cave. Like, you never get me in a cave. You'll never get me in a cave, no fucking way. But for him to have sort of took that brilliant article and just pass it off at his own fucking work is wild. It's wild to me. And that's 2 strikes now against Internet Historian. 3, and he'll be out, unfortunately. The first strike, of course, was making every moron think it was reasonable that Sean Murray ripping everyone off with No Man's Sky, literally lying to everyone's face, was a good thing because they added things they didn't promise after the things they did. Like, no, he still robbed everyone blind, mate. So sick of that. Everybody, like, every time there's a patch to No Man's Sky now, go on Reddit games, and No Man's Sky's in a content patch, and the top comments always, it's really amazing what they've done, actually, since the game came out. Yeah, they really added all the content. It's actually so good. Yeah, it's so good. It's the goodening of the... It's like, you watched that fucking video, you cunt. That's all you did. You watched that video. And now you won't shut the fuck up about it. He lied to your face. He robbed you blind. They took everyone's money, a AAA price, because it was backed by Sony. They robbed you all blind. And that game was a contentless piece of shit for 18 months. How's that fucking acceptable? And by the way, I'm going to do a separate video on this. I've got it scripted. But I don't know if you saw, they wheeled him out at the fucking Game Awards. Sean Murray, this is, not Internet Historian. And Sean Murray was joking about, like, remember when I lied to you all again? Well, guess what my game does? It's amazing. It's big. Mountains, as big as mountains in real life. It's like, why are we joking about this, guys? He's a fucking con artist. In a serious industry, he would have been drummed out of this business like the cunt in the Simpsons episode with the fucking monorail. It's a joke. So anyway, experiences with plagiarism. I've never, obviously, I mean, you'll see, you can only take me at face value. I don't think I've ever plagiarized, ever, sort of even unintentionally, but how would you know? And I think I'm very good with attribution, and I take it seriously. You know, having worked as an editor and been a copy checker, you know, you get good with that stuff. But, I sort of have, I remember when I used to do the poetry recitals, I'm friends with a very good writer, you know, some of you will know, Gareth Wood. He's going to be back in print, by the way. He just got another book deal. So I'm ecstatic about that. That's what I was away celebrating. And he is such an incredible writer. Sometimes we go to these gigs and I wouldn't have enough material, or I wouldn't be happy with my material. And I'd say to him, can I lend some of yours? And I'd get up on stage and I'd read his work. You know, but like, he's there in the room with me doing it and is fine with me doing it. That's my dark plagiarism confession, I guess. So I don't know. I've seen a lot of people in esports plagiarize stuff. I've seen a lot of YouTubers plagiarize stuff. It's just mad how brazen it's gotten. That's the difference. Like back in the day, people used to at least go and take like obscure stuff or small YouTube videos. They weren't taking like lavish 20-page feature-length articles, reading it as a fucking script and passing it off as their own. You know, so pretty wild, like. But I mean, listen, I also know enough to know when the journos were going after me around about the time, you know, like there was a ton of people going after me, like Brianna Wu, who apparently is based now, but Brianna Wu said I shouldn't be allowed to be a judge or a panelist on the esports awards because I was a fascist or a Nazi or something, because I've been at Breitbart. There was a ton of journalists that were like archiving all my old blog posts. Remember, I fucking caught them doing it, and then I made a video of me reading the stuff because they were trying to make out it was real, but it was actually excerpts from a book that I published. And I'm sure everybody went through all of my stuff with a fine-tooth comb to catch me plagiarizing. It would have been the easiest way to sort of shut me down. So yeah, I don't know if that answers it, but There you go. Alfredo, do you have any bets placed on various stages of the US election? If you were bookieing the election, what would be some highlights of odds? Well, I'll just say no. The problem with American politics is it's a volatile nightmare. And we've got a new problem in modern politics. And that is that polling data is rapidly becoming irrelevant. It's meaningless. And we're seeing this all the time. People don't want to deal with the bullshit for having the bad thoughts and the bad ideas. Polling data is always held on the premise that it's anonymous. Don't worry about it. Just tell us your honest thoughts, and there are no wrong answers. In modern America, that's not true. If you wear a MAGA cap, you can be baseball batted in a hospital, in the street, and the news will say, you were wearing a Klan hood. So people have become naturally more cagey about their politics. And even in an anonymous setting, they lie about them. And so polling data, as we've seen with that hilarious meme of Nate Silver with all of his skew whiff hair, everybody knows now that, polling data is just pie in the sky. It just doesn't really mean anything anymore. And so how you then would plan things. For example, I've always maintained, and here you go, chat, you've spammed it enough, now you get your validation. Here you go. A little feed the birds, tuppence a bag. I maintained that Trump wouldn't be the nominee throughout all of the primaries because it is political suicide. You have to understand the Democrats want him to run. They are doing everything they can to get him to run. They have been simultaneously bad-mouthing him, but doing it in such a hysterical and sort of low-rent kind of way that it's galvanizing his base, and they want him in there. They want him in, and they've even said this. They've even said this on CNN now. And so what's ended up happening now is DeSantis has dropped out. And DeSantis, for me, was a primary and a general just ain't the same thing. And people don't understand that. And also, as I've said many times, a primary, legally, in America, is pageantry. All this jerking off, Trump has to be on the ballot. And the GOP can pick whoever they want, regardless of your vote in a primary. This has been held up by the Supreme Court in America. They are a courtesy. A political party is a private entity that can put forward whoever they want for a general. And a lot of people don't understand this still. The primaries are pageantry. And so what they do is they're trying to get a sense of who could win in a general. But here's the thing. Trump is the only guy that can make neutrals vote for Biden. Everyone else is sick of Biden. Biden's been a disaster. But if you run him against Trump, everyone goes, well, I remember the world being fucking insane when Trump was in. And now Trump's on a death wish ting, and he's saying he's going to take revenge on everyone. I guess we have fucking 4 more years of President Applesauce. And for the GOP to not see this, and it's I don't know, what's the option now? Perma Washington fucking discharge Nikki Haley? Wicked. Great job, guys. Great job. The reality is, if they'd ran DeSantis against Biden, DeSantis would have cleared Biden, not by much, but by enough. That's that. And by the way, I'm writing an article because I've been a bit more clear-headed and I've been a bit more active on the keyboard because I've had a few days without being able to stream, no internet in the house. Vivek ran the perfect campaign relative to his goals. He got all the way to Iowa without having a dropout. If you look at the polling numbers, which again, I know I've just said polling numbers aren't an exact science, but if you look out of all of the Republican candidates, who trended the best with 17 to fucking 24, 20, whatever it was, 24-year-olds, the youngest demographic in the block, it was Vivek. He had 18% of it. That's the power of, going to a Jake Paul thing and fucking, being on TikTok. And his entire campaign was all about being the vice presidential nominee or getting a high-profile job in the Trump cabinet. He kissed Trump's ass all the way through. As soon as he only had 6%, whatever it was in Iowa, he dropped out, told everyone else to drop out, get behind Trump, America first. He did a fucking 10-minute speech after he dropped out to promote Trump, which was more coherent than anything Trump has said on his campaign at all. Meanwhile, the media were running around saying Trump had syphilis because he had a paper cut on his hand and there was some bloody blotches on there. This thing is a fucking mess, guys. Like, I don't know what else to tell you. So, anyway, how you place bets on this stuff, I don't know anymore. Polling data, does, you can't tell which way people are going to vote. Polling data is all over the place. What seems sensible and obvious to anyone with a political brain very often isn't the way things go anymore. You couldn't always say that. So that's where we are. So, yeah, there's no way that you could sort of predict any of this stuff accurately. This is from P. Do you still plan on doing the American road trip for the election? Having more time to think on it, do you plan on changing your approach to the coverage? Yes, I'll still be out there in America, and I'm still going to go to some of the places and write up some of the stories and see what happens there. Maybe even film some stuff. We'll see. And do I plan on changing my approach to the coverage? No, except maybe incorporating In the Belly of the Beast into like doing it live on Twitch and then it becoming like a video podcast, basically maybe making that sort of a more, like having a more defined place to talk about political things. 'Cause I was thinking about it, if I was to like treat streaming like a job moving forward and do like, a 9 to 5 kind of stream like a lot of streamers do, except not 9 till 5, more like 3 in the afternoon till 10 at night or midnight. What would I do? And, it's like the news cycle's so insane. You could get so much content out of just talking about that stuff. So, maybe more of that. But that would be the only change. BK Who says, with Hong Kong and France becoming more tourist-friendly after COVID, is there any other country you've been to where they are unfriendly towards tourists? I mean, I gotta say, if you'd have asked me before that tour of Europe I did last summer, I would have said it's France every time. Unbelievable how rude the French used to be. Ain't like that no more. I mean, I was in Paris, and they are notoriously rude, but they were so gracious and kind and helpful, like just concept. It's like basically, right, what was going on with France? When like you ever played Civilization and you go down a tech tree and it's like you've got gunpowder but no writing in your society? That was what France was like when it came to like manners, concepts like the customer is always right, customer service. That was what happened in France. They just didn't develop the tech. It was like, right, we're over here. We've developed rudeness, wine. Yeah, why not? Fucking, that's great, And they just kept skipping over politeness, manners, helpfulness. There was this like, courtesy tech tree down here. There was that. Fuck that. Who needs that? Look at them, this is passive buffs, who cares? And, they fucking didn't do it for ages. And now they've done it. They were like, there's nowhere left in the tech tree. Well, you could sort your police out. But there's nowhere left in the tech tree. So why don't we explore down here? And they've started doing it. And man alive, it was a great experience. I had a wonderful time in Paris. Like, I really did. And everyone was super nice. And I'm like, what's happening? It was like being in the pod people. I've been to Paris so many times. And everyone was rude. And you try and talk French. And they go, don't bother. You're embarrassing yourself, sir. All right, my bad. It's my bad that I happened to be born English. And everyone... We've got lazy. We're learning other languages because everyone speaks ours, But anyway, I'm trying to think where I had a bad experience, like where people were universally rude. And keep in mind, I was recently in New York as well, in the last year, and New York had some horrendous experiences there. I know, man. Maybe like everyone got brotherly love after like fucking COVID, like. Maybe everyone just chilled the fuck out after, like, being cooped up for 2 years and paranoid. But I haven't been anywhere recently where I just felt, like, out-and-out hostility, I just haven't felt it. Like, so I don't know. It's not really an answer to your question, but we did get the funny joke about the Parisian tech tree, at least. Russ, asks, besides watching or trying to make films, what is a good way to learn about cinema as an art form? Being a media student, TM, maybe you know of textbooks, resources, methods that helped you. I'll say this, there's like two kind of levels when you're learning about the art form of cinema and sort of creating, you know, a film. Let's say you want to be a filmmaker, right? You're going to learn everything. You're going to get taught stuff at college. Makes sense. They're going to teach you, like, you know, all the fucking shit, how to frame a shot, the 180 rule, all that stuff that you learn. But there's something great about reading books by people that have gone on to create great movies, and they've written these books about how they sort of did it. And I always found that to be, in terms of learning about what's actually going on, what's being obfuscated, like you're seeing what the shot is, but you don't see the stuff outside of the frame. You don't see the prep. You don't understand what's gone into it. Reading books by like really good directors is it's unprecedented, and there are some really good ones out there. There's a book by the Coen brothers have got one where they sort of break down some of the things they did. It's up on my shelf there. Stuart Gordon's book is up on my shelf there. It's fucking fantastic. They did a re-release of that after he passed, but that's more of a horror thing. Sam Raimi has a book. Kevin Smith has a book, I believe, about like the making of Clerks, which is a good read. Honestly, there's like a ton. And you would not believe how like candid a lot of filmmakers are. I saw a fantastic quote. I can't remember who fucking said it. It was in a documentary I was watching the other day. It might have been on one of the special features on one of my Blu-rays, right? Basically, there was a filmmaker, and it was another filmmaker, another director, and he got to meet Kurosawa. And he said, I was so psyched to ask him this question about, at the end of the movie Ran, he frames this shot in a particular way with like the gates here, and it's a little bit off center, and it's just a very unique framing. And he said it's always stuck with me, and so I wanted to like ask Kurosawa, why did he frame it that way? What was he trying to say? So I went up to him and I said, oh, you know, an honor to meet you, sir. It's an honor to meet you. I love your movies. I've got one question that's always been burning me. It's the end of Ram. Why is it framed that way? And Kurosawa, smoking a cigarette, you know, and he said, because if it had been 1 inch to the left, you would have seen Tokyo Airport. And if it had been 1 inch to the right, you would have seen the city. And that was it. That was the great fucking mystery. So anecdotes like that are super useful to understanding the practicalities of making a movie, because sometimes you just have to improvise in a way you wouldn't necessarily anticipate you're going to have to do. You're going to have practical challenges that you're going to have to overcome. And all the great filmmakers have been there exactly where you are in that moment. Broke, experimental, using your own equipment, small crews, you know? That's why I always fucked with Romero. It didn't matter how sloppy his editing is, how his framing was off, you know? Kabuchi's another guy. Kabuchi, he made one of the great spaghetti westerns no one ever talks about, The Great Silence, with crazy Klaus Kinski in it. And all throughout the fucking film, there are shots that are out of focus. They are literally out of focus. But he just cobbled his shit together because he had to get these shots, you know? And that film's a really underrated masterpiece. It's like second, it's like third for me overall, probably, in all the spaghetti westerns. These guys like have all got their idiosyncrasies, but they make great movies. And do you know why? Because they just go out there and they point the fucking camera at things. So my advice is pick up a ton of those books, read, get inspired, watch a bunch of Blu-rays, listen to a bunch of commentaries. That's like such an underrated resource. Listen to commentaries where the filmmaker is talking about making the movie. There are some legendary ones like David Fincher, Brad Pitt, Ed Norton on Fight Club, and you know, there's just some incredible fucking commentaries out there that'll really lift the veil, if you like, on what's going on. Zumba, in the latest You Speak Your Brains, you said you aren't controlled by the Jews. But here you are answering a question from a Jew and completing my Patreon requests. What do you have to say to defend yourself, you Zionist? Well, you've got me there. You have done me. You have actually, as a Jewish person, paid me money. And I have read your transcript to an audience. So there you go. Been done. That's it. It's over. I've been busted, been found out. It does always make me laugh. I had another one the other day. One of Loba's fans. He's kind of like a lunatic in his own right. Him being there for the Loba drama is almost academic. But there's this he's a lunatic Vax Sucks guy. He's kind of notorious on HLTV. I think I've played clips by him before, and he makes HLTV threads saying, but the reason they beat me is because they're worse than me. He's one of those delusional guys. Well, anyway, he again accused me of being a Jewish propaganda guy. So it's just one of these things that come up. One of the things you have to understand, all conspiracy theorists will eventually arrive at the final destination of anti-Semitism. I don't know why that is, but it's it doesn't matter which one it is, doesn't matter which conspiracy it is, they always end there. They go all over the place, flat earth, NASA, Jews. They always get to the anti-Semitism. I don't understand how it works. Lizard people, Jews. They do that, and it's just mental. And I don't know why. So imagine how insane it is that even in a fucking video game, and I'm just saying, here's my great sin. I just don't think there are as many cheaters as people say. That's it. That's all there is to it. Never said there weren't no cheaters. Never said it wasn't a problem. Never said any of these things. Just said chances are, there's so many cheating accusations. The accusations outweigh the number of cheaters. That's it. That's all there is to it. By the way, that's almost certainly true. And what ends up happening is people go fucking absolutely psycho, and then they accuse me of being part of a Jewish conspiracy to cover up Valve incompetence. It's mad. It's really crazy. It's really crazy. And unfortunately, we just get that all the time now. The Richard Jewish meme is back and alive and well, and it's just happening all the time these days. Jester, who I haven't heard of from a while. Jester, did you have a good New Year's? Yeah, it was all right. Low key. As I said, I've been having a bit more of a sober time lately. But I did get to chill and hang out with people and ring in the new year in style and all of that sort of thing. So wasn't gonna have a big one, but it was all right. It was all right. So yeah, there you go. Thanks for your continued support, friend. Jenny Darricat, good to see Jenny. Christ, there's a name. I haven't seen you in a while. Patreon question. So we all know you're a big advocate of for beautiful nature, culture, and architecture of the British Isles, be it the many vistas of Port Talbot or Blackpool's renowned fine dining opportunities. There's nary a tale that does not entice the imagination of the would-be tourist. All memes aside, I'd love to know if there are actually places you think of fondly or would recommend to see to somebody visiting the UK for the first time. My partner and I are planning a visit a long-term friend near Bath sometime this year. We'd like to get some ideas of where else we could go on the trip. We're not big city people, so we're not into the idea of visiting London or Glasgow. No one's into the idea of visiting Glasgow. Or a load of crowded tourist traps. But yeah, much appreciated. So, first of all, I'll say Bath's an excellent choice. It's a great place to go. I was down there recently. Bath is a beautiful part of Britain with lots of really cool spots, really nice bars, and it's not really fallen in the same way as a lot of other tatty seaside towns in Britain and that kind of thing have. But Bath is a really cool place. It's B&Bs, it's full English breakfasts made by a nice little old lady. It's a cup of tea at 7 a.m. because everyone has to get up super early. Not because they're going to work, because they're all rich, but just because they want to start on their garden. You know, read the paper with a slice of toast with just a bit too much butter and marmalade on it. That's what Bath is. And you walk down, you walk past these wonderful, like, old houses, and obviously Bath, you know, it's called Bath, you know, Roman baths are there. There's all this wonderful, like, architecture. You got this nice little park down by the river. There's, like, a botanical gardens you can go in. There's, like, a church, by the way. It was funny. They have this little park you can go into, just visit, and you can go and sit down by the river. They had 2 active live beehives there when I went. I was like, fucking hell. It's a WB. I was saying to my mate, it's a WBC beehive, look. He's going, what the fuck are you on about, mate? So, I mean, literally, Bath is, like, so nice. And you'll have a great time there. It's very, you know, if you want to fucking, there's a part of the high street where there's a Weatherspoons, and next door to that, there's a axe throwing place. You know, it's got that shit too, if you want to grime it up a little bit. But if you want to see beautiful parts of Britain, I would certainly recommend going to Wales. Maybe not South Wales so much, even though it is God's country, of course. But North Wales is beautiful. If you can get into one of them cottages up there in, like, you know, Llangollen or round about that part of the world, it's really nice. It's really rural, but it's nice. If you like the countryside, you're going to like that. Obviously, if you go up to the Highlands, you know, unprecedented. Scotland has some of the most beautiful, untouched, like, just rolling, you know, like hills that roll on into, you know, that romantic ideal. They roll on and then they get to the rocks and then the beach and then the roaring sea and the chill breeze, but it's okay. You go into a little log cabin in the middle of nowhere in the Hebrides and you fucking throw some logs on the fire and your mobile phone doesn't work, and that's actually a blessing, and you curl up with a hot toddy, and that's wicked too. That's always good. There was a place up in Scotland I was looking at staying. It's like a lighthouse, and it's like there's a village in a lighthouse, and I watched the lighthouse, and I thought it'd be cool to go and stay in a lighthouse for a little bit. So these are all really good places. Sleeper, because you're going to be in Bath, and so, you know, you're not getting up to Scotland probably, and, you know, even driving to Wales is a pain in the arse. But I'm going to just say this, absolute sleeper, North Yorkshire, no joke. I'm always going to have a little bit of rose-tinted glasses because, you know, I spent a part of my life growing up there, the largest part of my life growing up there. But you get yourself up to North Yorkshire and, you know, you can do, there's moors and hills. You can go hiking, and it's got beautiful, you know, like all the heather comes out. You know, at the right time of year, and the hills are like this wonderful purple. You can go up there, you can go up to, like, you know, near Captain Cook's monument and that sort of thing. But then you can go a little bit, like, further out, you know, there's like these really, like, you know, and you can get to a seaside town and the Yorkshire moors. It's so, you know, it sort of narrows out in the northeast, so you can get to, like, rolling hillside within a few hours of having been, like, at a beachfront, and you can go to, like, Whitby and places like that. You know, that low key is like, that's what I think of when I think of, like, Britain. You know, that's what immediately comes to mind. So definitely check that out if you get a chance. But I'll have a think, because obviously, you know, we're in contact anyway. If I think of anywhere really cool, I'll hit you up with some specifics. And that's that. That is the last Patreon question.